Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Wednesday, 27th March 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Vigilantes defending Haiti's neighbourhood tooth and nail against gang attacks. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. In Haiti's capital, people have become used to violence and step around the dead. Nobody knows the reason for many murders. Locals fighting back and willing to give their heart and soul for the freedom of their neighborhoods and the freedom of their country, says one. This Sky News report has some details.
It's hard to believe, but this is downtown Port-au-Prince, the heart of Haiti's capital. It should be full of people. It isn't now. Fighting is often intense here. Burnt-out cars and buildings abandoned, the signature of the violence in this city. Market kiosks are empty. There's nothing to sell and nobody to sell it to. Rows of shops are shuttered and closed down. An armoured police vehicle guards the road to the presidential palace, waiting for the gangs to attack again. Just a few days ago, we couldn't even drive here. I filmed from a nearby hotel as police and gang members exchanged fire. Armoured vehicles riddled with bullet marks now patrol the streets. This is why people have abandoned the downtown. Why they're fleeing in their tens of thousands, homes and businesses destroyed or taken by the gangs. Police officers try to direct the traffic away from the most dangerous areas, but it's still chaotic. The displaced, who are family in the provinces, pile their worldly goods onto buses. These people are heading south, but no routes out of Port-au-Prince are safe. Tickets out cost a fortune because the drivers have to bribe the gangs. Even then, there's no guarantee of safety from robbery or kidnapping, but staying isn't an option. Those who have nowhere to go and have lost their homes cram into schools and colleges. Children shelter under school desks. Education long since abandoned in these places. Gaunt and frail two elderly ladies ask us for food. They say they're starving, rubbing their stomachs. Food aid does get here, but there is never enough. There are simply too many to feed. Incredibly, there's 6,500 people living in this school, and this is by no means the only school that is absolutely rammed with people. Many of these families have moved multiple times. They were in refugee centres, the gangs came and moved them on multiple times. And they're all here because of the gang violence. Whole families are now camping. Most here have lost everything. They're basically stuck, their lives destroyed by the gangs.
We're on the run. The gangs chased us out. This is our third camp.
It's the third time you've had to move. Why did the gangs push you out of your home?
We don't know. All we know is we are on the run. Our houses have been burnt down, and we're on the run. And we're not living. There's no life. We're in misery. We don't sleep. We're stressed. And we don't have enough to eat.
With no government, no law and order, and civil society barely functioning, the people of Port-au-Prince are in the midst of a storm of insecurity. Society is falling apart, say those who are trying to help.
Oui, yo vraiment traumatisé. They're
very traumatized because they're not used to living like this. There's no privacy for showering and other personal hygiene, little food, and they're like sardines on top of each other because there's no space.
What should be a beautiful Caribbean country with a vibrant capital is stuck in a vortex of violence, poverty, lawlessness, and a leadership void. They're praying things get better, but many here fear it could actually get worse. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News, Port-au-Prince.
In other news, Member of Parliament for the St. Christopher VI, Dr. Denzel Douglas, celebrated 35 remarkable years of service with the launch of his book, Making a Difference. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline reports.
The event, which took place at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank's Sir Cecil Jacobs Auditorium this week, drew a distinguished crowd, marking a significant milestone in the career of Dr. Douglas. Making a Difference is a book that focuses on the period 2004 to 2015. According to a press release, the collection of speeches presented in this volume captures the essence of a transformative period in the nation's history, offering insights and reflections from Dr. Douglas's third and fourth terms in office. The first two terms were covered in his first book, Coming of Age, published in 2009. The launch of Making a Difference was attended by Her Excellency, the Governor-General, Dame Marcella Liburd, members of the Federal Cabinet, and former ministers of government, distinguished members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, as well as students from schools across St. Kitts and Nevis and constituents from St. Christopher VI. Highlighting the event was a keynote address by Dr. Kenny Anthony, former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who reflected on the contributions of Dr. Douglas to regional dialogue and cooperation. Several invited guests received copies of the book, and each secondary and tertiary educational institution in St. Kitts and Nevis was also presented with copies. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
A success story. That is how Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley describes Heritage Petroleum Company Limited. TTT News has more.
As well as servicing the loan in US dollars, escaping the stranglehold of the bullet payment, Heritage has been paying its liabilities to the BIR. So we've been getting some taxes from Heritage. Heritage is a success story.
Prime Minister Rowley notes that now defunct Petrotrin was restructured to allow its debt to be serviced. He says Heritage came in and took responsibility for $11.8 billion in debt that Petrotrin was carrying and couldn't service. Dr. Rowley also notes that Petrotrin had not been paying any taxes nor royalties to Corporation Seoul, the Minister of Finance.
Has already in interest and capital has paid $7.5 billion there. And of course, on top of servicing the loan and taking the responsibility and the threat away from the Minister of Finance, Heritage has done so well that it is able to carry out its legal responsibilities, which is to pay its taxes and royalties to the Minister of Finance.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the launch of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service IMAP course on Monday.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
One opposition senator says the United National Congress's internal elections will be called when they are due, and he issued an apparent warning to one opposition MP. Do not attempt to bully the party executive into calling those elections. Details in this TV6 News item.
Elections in the UNC will be held when they are due. So, don't bully the executive. Don't bully the party.
Leader of Opposition Business in the Senate, Wade Mark, calling any attempt to do so as mischievous as he spoke during the opposition's media briefing on Sunday.
The United National Congress as an institution founded by the working class and ordinary people of our land is bigger than any individual in Trinidad and Tobago. is bigger than any individual.
Senator Mark's statements were in an apparent response to serious concerns raised by one of the UNC's MPs, Rushton Parry, last week.
We are demanding today that the leadership of our party respect the voice of our members. And that voice is echoed through our constitutionally due internal elections.
In the UNC's internal elections held on June 26, 2022, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar retained the political leadership of her party by a large margin. While Senator Mark did not name the Emearo MP by name, the leader of opposition business in the Senate said the UNC's history is rich with its commitment to the party's constitution and the tenets of democracy.
The rule of law. That is where we are. That is where we have come from. The one man, one woman, one vote. So it is misguided for anyone to give the impression that our great and glorious party is veering away from those rich traditions.
Senator Mark said the UNC was brought into being by hundreds of thousands of ordinary people to make life better.
That is what the UNC is. It is not a rich man party. It is not an elitist party.
The Express newspaper has reported that the UNC National Executive or NATEX elections are due in June 2024, and the next election for UNC leader is due in 2025. The next general election in Trinidad and Tobago is due in 2025. Jule Brown, TV6 News.
Over in Jamaica, the Auditor General surprised two reports were returned to her office. TVJ News has more with Shamila Pullin.
The first report is a special audit of the Financial Services Commission. The second is a special audit of Tax Administration Jamaica. The Auditor General, Pamela Monroe-Ellis, did not say why the reports were returned. Mrs. Monroe-Ellis only told the Gleaner that she will be dispatching them to Parliament on Monday. But in a news release yesterday, the General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, Dr. Horace Chang, sought to set the record straight in relation to what he said were recent concerns and accusations related to the tabling of reports from the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General in Parliament. Dr. Chang says the recent allegations have suggested a deliberate delay by the Speaker of the House, the Honourable Juliet Holness, in tabling reports from the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General. The release also said there were no outstanding reports from either the Integrity Commission or the Auditor General awaiting tabling in Parliament. Dr. Chang said this clarification is important as it directly contradicts the accusations leveled against the Speaker of the House. In the meantime, the People's National Party has reaffirmed its stance that there should be immediate tabling of reports from all investigative bodies upon submission to Parliament. The PNP has raised concern about changes in the tabling of reports from the Integrity Commission and Auditor General based on a ruling of the Speaker of the House. The party has suggested that the adjustment for the tabling of certain reports from the Integrity Commission was a deliberate act after the Integrity Commission's annual report was tabled in July last year, disclosing ongoing investigations involving 6 parliamentarians for illicit enrichment. The PNP says, additionally, the Speaker's ruling has hindered the prompt tabling of the Auditor General's performance audit reports sent to Parliament. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils big and small. reassurance we give. It's so clear to see peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.